All right, I cleaned this up a little bit, closed some windows, and sort of sat down and thought about this a little bit. And before we go into jump boundaries and how that's a problem, we're going to go through this and make sure that we're not making a stupid mistake because it's just more than possible that we are. And I just don't want to complicate it to that extent of like jump boundaries yet. I mean, we're writing some basic assembly code, so I don't want to complicate it, dude. You're writing assembly. Well, yes, but I don't want to I don't want to tackle the jump problem yet. I think that what we're going to do is we are going to go through and make sure that we have everything right, and that we're not making a stupid mistake before we just start saying, well, here's what I think is wrong without, laying the groundwork and double checking what already exists. And that's certainly not specific to this problem. When you get into this sort of thing, I mean, again, what's going on here? It's possible we're off by 1 bit, 1 byte, 2 bytes, whatever, and that's what's screwing us up. So, it's the first time in the series that we've actually accidentally crashed the game, uh, off that I can recall off the top of my head. So this does demonstrate that if you're not careful, you will crash the game. And as you saw, it literally just came up and said the game has crashed. And now, if you want, you could go into your file system and find the crash report and dig out some addresses and stuff like that. But it almost doesn't even matter because all the memory view and stuff that Cheat Engine's gonna show you in here is all blank because it doesn't exist anymore. So without further ado, manage code. So we have to do the karma and then before it even matters. So before we go into buy and things like that, we'll go here, we will go here, and we will just click plus minus. We don't have to go to confirm, I don't think. And now we will, how do I want to do this? Now we will attach this to that. Now we could pull out the the byte string and go right to the AOB scan, but uncheck hex. I want to do it from the ground up to make sure that we're not making a stupid mistake. It's possible that we shouldn't have searched for that value unless this was open or we were in the shop screen. So what do we have? 8. So let's do a new scan. So now we have 10. Well, some of them's going to be, the two values, the difference between 8 and 10, the two new values, I don't know what they are because I didn't really look at the addresses. It's possible they may just be display values, but then again, it's possible they may not be. So again, demonstrating how much of a pain in the ass managed code can be. 99249. We get 2 of them. We'll try the first one, or the one that's earliest in memory first, and we'll just make it 50,000. And we will close this and open it back up. And we have 50,000, so that's the value. So now we will find out what writes to this address. Then we will go back to the store, to Eric Mersman, and we will buy the tourist look. Yes. 49,600, 49,600, and there's the similar looking code at some different instruction or some different memory location. Now we will go into the script and pull this out and go to AO. Well, first we're going to clear this and then go to AOB scan, paste it in, do a search. We get 2260B111, which is 2260B192, which is close enough in memory. If you recall, we are adding some offset to it. The offset I want to say is 81. It is. So let's pull the calculator out and just make sure that these two line up when you add 81. So we got 2260. Which one's earliest in memory? It is this one. So 226, stupid tooltip. B111 plus 81 gives you 2260B192. All right, so that's sort of, we know that this, at least the few times, excuse me, the few times that we've restarted this game, this code's not moving around. It always seems to be prior to the instruction that we are interested in. So now we will go to show the dissembler for this, which is 192 right there. And so what we were sort of saying is, well, we're clobbering the jump and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that's what we're doing, and that's why we're going back in from the ground up. And so now let's ask Cheat Engine, go to 192 and then say minus 81. It goes here, and you can see here's our byte string over here relative to that. So let's just make sure that obviously it wouldn't have found it if it wasn't exact. So what else? How else can we sort of verify that we're not insane? We're going to click on that, and then we're going to go to Tools, Auto Assemble, and we're going to go to Template, Code Injection, make sure that this address is exactly that. It is, and I don't see the NOP there anymore either. So I'm not sure what I did wrong earlier, but Cheat Engine with its automated algorithm is telling me you don't need the NOP here. NOP is 1 byte, so we'll get rid of that. So that's probably part of the bug right there, that we were essentially when we were doing code injecting, we were clobbering the jump, and then we were putting an extra byte that didn't need to be there, so we were eating some part of this address right here. But at the same time, Cheat Engine is telling you, hey, here's the original code, because you want to do this 5-byte instruction here, you have jump and then some memory address, and this is only 2 bytes. Or I'm sorry, this is only 3 bytes, and then because you're injecting more data than this current instruction at this memory location can hold, it's going to bleed over into the second instruction. And you can see right here that it's hard coding this address right in, and Cheat Engine is telling you, hey, you got to use this, you have to eat up this jump address, or you have to eat up this jump instruction in order to give you the amount of room you need for your code injection. And that's a really shitty thing because, again, we're on a jump boundary, and that's maybe not a problem if it's relative to some offset in a register, but the real problem is that it's a hard-coded address, and every time we restart the game, this address is going to be different. So we can't use this in our script. So we could get into how to solve this and record, in a dynamic way, whatever the address for this instruction is, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to have to do that at some point. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right here. Can we do that? Well, let's ask Cheat Engine. Go to Tools, go to Auto Assemble, Template, Code Injection, 2260B190. Yep, there. All right, so now we don't have any more hard-coded addresses. We're jumping on the compare, and then we're doing the move, and then we will jump back and return to this, and whenever the game restarts, we're not going to touch this. This is just where we're returning, and so this value and instruction can be whatever the hell it wants. So how do we do that? You can see there's still no NOP down here. You can just do it because 2 and 3 is 5, and jump plus some memory address is 5 bytes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the calculator again. We're going to say, if I can sort of move this out of the way, and we are going to say, what is 2260B190 minus, oh, we got rid of it, but let's do the first scan, minus this address right here, because that's where our AOB scan is landing. That's the memory address that's being returned by the AOB scan. So let's just subtract that, and we get 7F. Let me think about that. 7F and then 8 and then 1. Yep, that's right. So we don't need that anymore, or the new script. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and we're going to say, instead of adding 81, and it wasn't really 81, it was 81 in hex. So I mean, if I wasn't really paying attention, if I had screwed that up by saying, well, this value is 81, then yeah, that value was 81, but it was in hex, obviously. So 7F, we're just going to subtract 2 from 81. You get 7F. Why are we subtracting 2? Because we're moving to the start of the next instruction, which is 2 bytes away to get to the start of the next, or to get to the start of the previous instruction. We just subtract however many bytes the previous instruction is, and that is 2, and you can see, in fact, it is 190 right there. So now when we code inject, or when we clobber this code, We have to get rid of that because we're going to reuse, or we're going to have to put some different code in. We're going to end up pasting that exact line back in, but just sort of to prove the point as much as we can, because this is sort of complicated stuff. The structure of the script is fine, and we still don't have the NOP on the jump. So then we're going to jump, and our math right here is going to land us on this instruction, and we will clobber it with a jump, and then the rest of the code around it will be fine. All right. So how do we know what we are clobbering? Is these two instructions. So if you wanted to, you could just come back in and do something like comp EAX, and you could type the instructions in yourself. But just because we're fixing a bug here, and we want to be as clear as possible, and make sure that Cheat Engine has our back and is double checking what we're thinking, we're just going to go. So we're going to select the injection point, and then we're going to go to Tools, Auto Assemble, just like we have a million times, maybe not a million, but certainly a few. And Cheat Engine says, here's the code. Here is the code that you should, well, just here's the original code. So we're just making sure that Cheat Engine is agreeing with what we're thinking, and it's less typing. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do that. Then we're going to come down here, and we are going to do this, so that when we disable the script, we will restore the code in exactly the same way. And we're dealing with registers and offsets, and nothing is hard-coded. They're all just referred to by a name, so in some dynamic way, we don't have to care about what the values really are. Relative to our previous attempt, where we were landing on this jump boundary, and not only were we fucking it up by throwing an extra NOP in there and eating up one byte, it wouldn't have mattered, because even if we got rid of the NOP, this address, as we've shown, is calculated every time. There's a new address in here every time the game is restarted. So in order to alleviate having to find the address and store it in some value, all we have to do is just sort of look at the prior instructions and say, well, these don't change, so let's just inject on an earlier point and just not have to worry about ever landing on a jump instruction. Or a jump boundary, I guess, would probably be a better way to say it. So then we'll comp that, or compare that, and then move that into that, and then do the return, which would be that. And then, all right, it looks a little better to me, so let's hit OK. Cheat Engine says OK. Let's bring this up, see how long we've been going. It's not too bad. Now we will enable the script, and this jump instruction that we have highlighted should not be clobbered like it was when in the previous video. And we have done the karma thing, and we have bought an item, so that stuff should be in memory. All right, there we go. So this jump instruction right here is fine, untouched, EB15, and then you have it right here, E9-7F4E. This is the jump instruction to our script, or at least for this injection point, and you could follow it and say, oh, yep, there it is. And then this is the jump to our entry point, which is down here. And the code for our entry point is comp EAX, move EAX plus 34 ECX, and then it's jumping back to return by item, which actual value of that is this. So instead of clicking back, we will just follow it. And now you are in this jump instruction that comes right after our code. So now we should be able to go back in the game and buy an item, and it should not crash. There are no guarantees in life, especially when you're doing this kind of stuff. We will hit plus, we will hit confirm. The game has not crashed yet. It has not crashed yet, and we lost 400 bucks. Let's buy one other thing. 49,200. I'll take a look. Sell me, was it 200? Sell me this, the $50 thing. So 49,150. So the logic and all that is working. And we will disable the script, and we should see this, just this inject buy item go away, and we should see the compare and the move come back. Right. We haven't talked about the compare at all, and we're definitely moving in that direction, and we will. So I know that, it's CMP, and it's just a compare. So it's just basically you're just checking one value against another. And how that works under the hood is the reason why we have to talk about how compare works under the hood in order to explain conditional jumps and things like that. I don't want to get into that right now, so instead we're just saying, yep, this is a compare, it does something, and we're mainly what we want to do is focus on this move instruction, because that's what we've done or have been doing up to this point. So what are we going to do now? We're just going to basically ignore this instruction. We have to put it in there. just to sort of keep this instruction does things under the hood that you can't just comment it out or delete it or something like that. You might be able to get away with it, but we are just going to say that you cannot do that. And it's just easy. It's better practice to leave the code as close to the original as possible. At least I think it is. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to copy the same sort of format that we have up here. For now, we're just going to push 100 in there, and then ECX will be moved into this location, and then we will jump. So let's re-enable the script. And if all is well, we will go back in the game, and we will buy an item, and our money will be 100. It doesn't matter what we buy. Can we even see our money right now? Nope, it's just stash stuff. Now you have 100 money. So let's disable it. Let's go back in. Let's make it a much higher value. Let's break out our calculator here real quick. Say, oh, glorious calculator, tell me what 50,000 is. 50,000 as a decimal number, what is that in hex? Is C350. C350. So now we're going to have 50,000 whenever you buy something. So let's hit OK. Let's re-enable the script. You can see there's a lot of AOB scans going around. It's definitely slowing down. So let's just buy that. It doesn't matter. Yep. Now we have 50,000. And it doesn't matter, obviously it just doesn't matter now. You just buy something else. Your money's never going to change because every time you buy something, you're just pushing 50,000. And pushes whatever. You're just moving 50,000 into your money. Now, what about selling stuff? And we're breaking it out and doing it in discrete chunks for this reason. Let's sell something. I have a sneaking suspicion. I don't know. Let's just sell everything. It's not going to matter, but let's just do it. Should our money change? It should not, but you might be apt to say, well, why is my money changing? Because we only, as we saw when we started messing with this, we only overwrote the instructions relative to when you buy something. When you sell something, there's a whole another series. There's a whole another memory address that has some instruction that deals with how to modify your money when you sell stuff. You can see some of that popping up down here. It's hard to differentiate at this point because we have some results from when our script is enabled, and then we have results from when our script is disabled. But we will disable the script, and then we can't sell anything now because we just sold everything. So we're just going to cut this off here, and we'll sort of go through and do the sell, modifying your money when you sell something. And just we were able to move through this in a more expedited fashion because we already have a background and a foundation to build from, and that's exactly why it just you have certain techniques and tools that you will use and the well that you will go back to time and time and time again when you run into these problems. Some people's wells are much deeper than others. I would say my well is not that deep. I have a couple go-to things, and if those totally fail, then I don't know. Then I just sit down and then I think about it, and I try and come up with something original. But those sort of results vary. All right, so again, let's just go over this before I stop it. What was the problem that we originally had? One, we had an extra knob, so we were just eating one bite off this thing, off whatever the next instruction is, which is generally not a good thing to do. But even if we weren't doing that, it wouldn't have mattered because we would have had to include because the instruction that we were injecting on is only 3 bytes, we would have had to take the next instruction in order to have enough bytes to do the code injection, which is really just a jump. Jumping to a memory address on a 32-bit machine is going to be 5 bytes. This is 3, so we need the next instruction after it. So you get this one, and this is a jump, or even if it wasn't a jump, but if the instruction after has a hard-coded memory address, it's a bitch when you deal with that in your script. What you end up doing is you end up storing the memory location in this instruction in some way so that when you disable the script, you can go back and refer to it by some name in a dynamic way. It's not super crazy, but it's just not something that I really wanted to dive into at that point. So instead of doing that, all we did was we just moved our starting point up. to the previous instruction so that we could just deal with these two instructions that don't have any hard-coded memory addresses, and that just made our life easier. It doesn't matter what comp or compare EAX is doing. It's just we just needed that. We needed the byte space, is what I would say. And by just doing that simple adjustment, it made our life a lot easier. If there was a jump instruction or an instruction with a hard-coded memory address here and an instruction with a hard-coded memory address here, and then we wanted to inject here and it was only 3 bytes and we couldn't do the jump, then we would have had a real problem where we would have had to figure this out in some other way, because you wouldn't have been able to go up and you wouldn't have been able to go down to get sort of space to do the injection. And so you would have had to deal with this. And again, we will purposely make it a point to come back and deal with this stuff in the future. But again, it's just not something I want to dive into right now. And even the, sort of, I didn't want to jump into it right now. That issue aside, it's just easier this way because it's less code that you're writing. It's less avenues of error, less points of failure. So whenever you find yourself in this situation, or whenever I find myself in this situation, my go-to move is to immediately look up and look, or in whatever direction I have to travel, whether it's up or down, and just look for more for a previous instruction and say, well, I'm going to inject here and then I'll do that, and then I don't care about this hard-coded memory address because I'm not injecting, I'm not clobbering it. So with that,